Hey, how you doing? This is Kitch, and you are watching me play Factorio Uncut. I'm just going to come up here and fix this real quick before anybody notices. Yeah, no. Who was missing a copper line? I don't know what you're talking about. That must have been in your game. Yeah, I noticed that during editing, and I'm sure somebody has probably brought it up because you guys are really awesome at pointing out my mistakes. And I apologize, I have not been very good at making my typical Kitch mistakes. However, I have managed to make a couple, and there may be some more that I'm missing, but some commenters have pointed out this one right here. That's a yellow belt. I missed that when I was doing my upgrades. And I probably never would have noticed that because it's hiding behind all that ore and coal. But that's good. I think everything else is going to be fine up here because nobody pointed out any other problems. So, and you guys are really, really sharp in that department. Does this need to be a thing that is that load bearing for the entire base? Yes, it is. All right, so we do need to do something there. We just don't need to have a power pole in the middle of the road. Yeah, and I do appreciate the comments. I do read them all, and I do appreciate them all, and I'm not the best at responding to comments, and I've been really bad in this series, and I apologize. That may get into that a little bit later. But I do appreciate the comments, and I do read them. Someone is suggesting doing a lane balancer on this, and I agree. I was actually going to bring this up earlier. It's a soapbox that I get on every now and then. But anyway, this is a problem that you may see on your bus lines. I've seen a number of newer Twitch streamers that have run into this problem. And I've tried to help them out with it, but unfortunately, I don't think it's always quite... It's an interesting problem. So you may see this in your factory. You will notice that there is one bus lane, or one lane that's just completely still, and the other one hardly has anything on it at all. And... You may be thinking something is wrong, and it sure is annoying. It's not a very good thing to look at. It's a major cosmetic issue, and it can be a throughput issue. I've seen people claim that it's really not. However, whenever I heard that claim, we were actually in one of my series where it was actually a problem, and I pointed it out then. That was a long time ago, and I've tried to look up that episode many times, and I never can find it. But let's talk about what's causing it real quick. There's a couple of causes for it, but they all kind of involve the same thing. If we look at this pull right here, where we're taking off the bus, we've got copper and steel. We're side loading both of these onto the same belt. And if you look really close here, it's probably more apparent with the copper. But you can see that this left lane is coming in, and it's populating the belt, and the right lane is actually being blocked, and it's being blocked by the left input coming onto the belt. And the exact same thing is happening down here with the steel, just on a smaller scale because we're not using nearly as much. But you can see that it's preferring this left side of the belt, top side of the belt, right side of the belt, depending on what perspective you're looking at. And it's going to prefer that and fill that up, and it's not even going to pull from this other lane until this lane is empty, and then it'll pull from there. And if we look up here, I mean, it's really apparent on the steel, but even in the copper, you can see that this left lane is moving a lot faster, and the right lane is just kind of sitting here hanging out. So that's one cause of it. Another cause is a situation like we have right here, where we're pulling it off. We're not side loading. We're sending it in directly. But down here are inserters. Inserters are always going to prefer the inside of the belt. So we've got two inserters here. They're pulling off of the same side of the belt. And sure enough, we're getting the exact same thing. We're getting this lane moving while this lane is standing still. So those are going to be, that's what's causing that, right? And if you're like on the iron line here, where we have so much input coming in and it's kind of backed up a little bit, it's not gonna rear its head because we're just basically killing the problem with throughput. However, on steel, that's a little bit lighter. We're gonna see that. Now we can start producing more steel, and then that problem would go away. A couple of things you can do is not side load. that's one thing. Another thing is if it's an inserter problem in your factory. If you look at this right here, where I'm pulling It looks like I'm pulling unevenly here because I'm only pulling on the bottom lane here, or primarily pulling on the bottom lane, I should say. But down here in this mirrored setup, I'm doing the opposite. I'm pulling from the top lane here. So they're actually canceling each other out, and that's not going to be as much of an impact. Same thing with the circuits build over here with the copper. We're not seeing that problem coming from that because we're pulling on both sides. Now, granted, this one has got the problem with the gears. So these are going to produce more because of the way we're side loading those. So that's one remedy. And the other way is to balance your lanes with a lane balancer. And by a lane balancer, I mean we're going to balance these two lanes as opposed to a belt balancer, which actually balances the belt. The distinction is if these are meant to distribute items coming in evenly across multiple belts and not necessarily to balance the lanes. So what that means is if we had 4 belts coming in that look like this with one lane, basically just one-sided, one lane, if we had 4 of those coming in, we would actually have 4 of those coming out. It's not going to do anything for the balancing department. Let's see. A lane balancer, one thing you may do is if it's something constant, like this top side is always full and the bottom is always empty, we can do something simple like that takes stuff from both sides, that's the way this splitter will work, and just moves it over to the bottom. So that will fill in the gaps that way. That is certainly a viable option, something you can do. There's also a variation on that. If it's not consistent which side is being broken up, you can do something like this right here. That'll actually be independent of which side is backing up, and it will just work. However, neither of those are true lane balancers. They'll balance the input coming in, but they won't balance the output coming out, and it won't pull evenly. It'll take the stuff in and distribute it evenly, but it won't pull evenly. And as we've learned through the demonstration, the problem is on this end of the belt, not on the production end of the belt. The production's balanced. We've got the equal number of furnaces on both sides. So a true-ish lane balancer. Let's see if I know how to do this from memory. I think I can. I've been on this soapbox so many times. That's a splitter coming in like that. And this is going to go down, and we're going to use this underground trick. If we feed a belt side-loaded into an underground, it's actually going to block this outside lane, but it's going to allow this inside lane to go through because those two belts are technically touching. It's a feature that I hope never gets removed. So by doing this right here, we're pulling this lane only is coming on this side of the splitter, and the outside lane is only going to pull on that side of the splitter. We're going to get input on both of these, but this is going to back up permanently on the inside lane here, and the top lane here is going to back up permanently, which you'll see. And we're basically breaking the lanes up together, running them through a splitter, and putting them back together like that, and this will balance our lanes as well. I'll just take that up here real quick. So, and the thing is that this will actually pull evenly from both lanes on both sides in response to the output that it's doing. And it's really kind of hard to see. I'm wondering if we can't just kind of fake a situation here. Let's just see. Let's just see if we can. If we took that out and brought that down and took that, and then we just did a split on this line. The problem is we're going to have uneven, but that's what we want. We want an uneven output. So this is actually going to be correct. All right, so we'll just wait a while and wait for these guys to fill up, and we'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I think it's going to take a while for that whole belt to. We'll just leave that up here and go do something else. Like maybe roll the intro or something like that. Let's see. What else do we want to do in this episode? We started working on our train depot up here. I think we need to definitely continue doing that. So do that we shall. Let's take a look at our inventory here. We've got some stuff. We've got some railroad track. I'd like to get some more. So yeah, let's get to it. And it's okay to challenge answers and to dismiss answers. I don't have any problem with that. It's when you dismiss questions. That's when I kind of lose respect for a side. And that's why I really can't take any of them seriously. I'd like to. I'd really like to. I'd really like to hear a very intriguing argument for it. I just haven't. But anyway, let's go over here and check on our balancer situation. See what's going on up here. I think this is going to have to back up for it to be really apparent what this guy's doing. And I don't think we've let enough time pass for that to fill up the gap on the belt yet. So we'll come back to that here in a second. And we'll see if I'm right about that or wrong about that. It'll be exciting. All right, so we're up here. Let's see. Let's lay out some stations. All right. I'm going to copy and paste this, even though that is kind of an exercise in futility because we don't have robots. This will just give us a good idea of where that needs to go. Okay, so you're going to come in like that. We are going to have a train station. Let's go ahead and signal it. We're going to go ahead and have a signal because we need a signal for the train leaving the station. Okay, and let's see. Then let's plan to have both sides unload for most of these. For some like coal, one side's probably going to be enough. For iron and copper, since our trains are smaller, I want these running just as fast as they can. And this isn't a permanent setup with the fast inserters and stuff like that. I just basically want to do this for spacing. So much, in fact, that I think we can really only do one. And we can use ghosts. All right, so that'll go like that. And you will come out to unload. Okay, if you are a new player and you have not messed with trains at all, I guess I should take a step back. And I'm going to do that. Okay, so we placed our train station down. This is where our train's going to stop. The three white blocks right there are where our train is going to be when it's stopped at this station. The first one down here at the bottom with all the little yellow arrows pointing down, that's where our locomotive is going to end up. And the other two that are up here are where our train cars are going to be. And for unloading a train car, what we want to do is get a row of inserters. Ultimately, these are going to be the stack inserters, the big ones, hopefully, that are pulling out that. They're going to grab the stuff out of there, and they are going to place it into these chests. And then we're going to have another row of inserters that are going to be inserting that onto belt. Now, why the two rows of inserters and the chest in the middle? The inserters unload from a train car faster than the inserters can load onto a belt. They can just go at full speed. They can grab all of their stuff, a big handful of stuff, and just throw it in a box. There's no limit. It's only limited by how many items this inserter can hold. And it can get up to like 10, I think, for stack inserters. However, on the belt, they're limited to basically how much room they have on the belt, right? So if it's a much slower process because they have to lay it out one plate at a time. So that means we don't want to slow our trains down based on the speed that the inserters can unload onto a belt. And there's going to be a little bit of drag time as this train leaves and the next train comes in. That could be minutes, that could be seconds, but it's going to be some time because a train can't enter this station until one is left. So that allows these to work fast, unload as quick as they can, and get a little bit of a buffer here. And then these can just unload the buffer at their leisure. So even though we don't have a train here, we're still producing things out on the belt. So that's where that's coming from. Ooh, science is done. Let's see. Anything? Can we do anything? That's the bigger question. Not really. We're at the point where we really need some blue science. We need to get this stuff done. So we'll just do the upper left-hand corner thing. And when I say upper left-hand corner, at some point, science just, I'm not going anything. I just do whatever's in the upper left-hand corner. It'll be fine. Okay, so we need to send these guys out onto belts. I go through different ways that I like to do this. What did I do last time? I did, let's see, if you guys go out, that's going to be all on the outside of the belt. And if you guys go out, you're going to be on the outside of the belt. So if I make you a new belt, we can curve that in like that. So all that will be on the outside, all that will be on the inside. Is that how I did that? I think so. All right, so we want that, and then I want this exact setup, but up here for this other train car. And then that will come down. Similar thing happening on this side. You just feed into the belt, and let's see. This is going to put a power pole right here to power all the inserters. So we can just take that under, and this should all be red belt now that I'm thinking about it, since we can make it. Okay, that would come down like that. And let's see, would a red belt stretch from there to there? It would, but that would get in the way of that. What if we took this up? So you go that way, you come in like that. You go across. I'm trying to figure out if this is sillier than what I normally do. And that would come out there, and that would give us 4. Now, what I'm wondering is, typically what I would do is a setup where those come in like that. I typically, I don't even know what that means anymore. What I have done in the past would be something like that. And, yeah, we could take that down. That would be the second level, so that would actually have to go out there. And would that be more of a footprint? Yes. Ooh, you know what we could do? Should have done this all with ghosts. What if we did this? So that'll combine both of those lines and then took you down. Let's start doing this red. I think, how many times have I said that so far? And took you down like that. And then did that. And curled you in. Did a little undergroundy thing. Trying to decide if I'm liking this better. I'm wanting to get the station spacing so we can go ahead and place these down. And once we just once I decide on how I want to do that, I think this footprint's going to be a little bit smaller. Granted, we're wasting splitters and undergrounds, but what are you going to do? And this looks like something I've done in the past. Take that around like that. Take you down like that. Under there. There will be a power pole right here. But I think we can just... I think we'll be able to underground it. We've got enough space. That can fit in right there. And that goes that extra space right there. And this is a big mess. It's a bit more expensive, but I like it. I think it'll work out fine. And then we could fit in a nice little balancer right here. Because this is one area I like to use a balancer, so they'll pull from all these chests evenly. And yeah, this will just go on. And can you make that? You can. So that gives us 4 belts of whatever coming out. And then we could shorten that to one side and get 2 belts of whatever coming out as well. All right, I think that works for me. I think that works just fine. Okay, and let's see. We're going to need a signal coming in. Or a signal for the guy to exit. And I like that. I like to get this one close to the train station as possible so it clears out the station as quick as possible. So as soon as this train, the last car leaves right here, leaves this block, that'll open the station. And the same thing, but the opposite, coming in, I want that to be as far back as possible. So the train coming in, as soon as the last car passes this point right here, it's going to open up that block and allow another train to come through. Small optimization, but one that I do like to do. And I just need the spacing more than anything else, but we'll go ahead and, in case I forget to lay down a signal or something, the robots will come and bot it down for us. All right, so this spacing down here I think is going to work for us. How close can we get this? We can get it that close, which is awful close. I don't know if I want to do it that close. I think we got a lot more room than that. Okay, so let's think here. This will be a raw stone train coming in, which only really needs to be a one-sided train. And if it could come in and tie in with this line, that would just be, like, perfect. So let's put it right there, and I'm not going to ignore the other side. Then we're going to need... I'm going to put in space for 2 copper trains to come in. So we have coal, we have stone, we have copper. And 4, 5, 6. I think we only need 2. 2 iron trains. And you know what? I almost want to have my iron trains over here closer to the iron. So this compactness is really just kind of silliness on my part now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah. I like the stone train there. I kind of would like the copper trains to start over here, and I'd like the I'd like the iron trains to be over there. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, we're probably going to have other trains, and we can fit those in the spaces that we don't need. So let's just go with this spacing, and we'll mix and match. We're going to need building trains that are going to basically my personal train to ride around in. We're going to have an artillery train. We're going to have trains that supply things like outposts and turrets and stuff like that. And if I set up a wall building train, we're going to need a spot for that. If I set up a solar building train, we're going to need a spot for that. So we're going to have plenty of spaces. We will find trains to put in the extra spots. No problem at all, I suspect. All right, so do I still have this? Yes. So yeah, we'll just carry this idea on down. We're going to have to move our path, or more appropriately, we could probably just leave this station out and keep the path the way it is, because it's convenient, because it lines up with our bus, right? And then we have like our building train over here, super convenient, or even over here. I like that idea. A lot of my time in Factorio in the later game is spent traveling up to the building train, from the building train to the mall, and the mall to the building train. So anything we can do to minimize that is going to be super helpful. Yeah, building train right there. I like it. We even have a little thing where we can set up a little area for buffers. Oh, I mean, it's gonna be fantastic. All right, iron train. Just 2 iron trains. I think that'll work. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that leaves us 1, 2, 3 open spots, and we can reserve some over here as well. I think that's going to finish up. No, we have a couple more down here we can do. Those require blue. All right, we need to get cracking on this train stuff. Let's just carry this on, like maybe that far for now. All right, and then we need to set up basically some space for some balancers. I'm going to go into my blueprints. I don't use blueprints for a lot of things, but what I do use blueprints for are things that, let's see, that's blue station, blueprints. I'm looking for my station rails. Where are the station rails? Station rails, right here. One of the things that I have in here is a parking lot. 8-lane, 2-car. That would come in just like that. Okay, what you're looking at here is basically a parking lot for trains. As trains come in, we don't want to back up the whole line while they're waiting for a station to get open. So they'll basically come into this little parking area and just park and wait until it is time for them to go. And how far do we want to take this out? That's water up there. Let's move into map mode here and see if we can get a good feel on where this water is. It's right about there. So maybe here, just to kind of try to... Oh. No, we're going to have to landfill some stuff. That'll be okay. Let's do it right here. And 8-lane, 2-car, I have a blueprint for basically a parking station for 2-car trains. That is in the description, I believe. I believe it's one of my always in the description links that are in my Factorio videos. And there's also a series I did called Kitch's Blueprint Book, where I went in and designed all these, if you're curious about that. All right, so that'll be our entry, and we'll run our exit right there, and we'll start our rail network about right there, and it's going to run into water up here. But actually, you know, it may not. We may be able to cut this right here and not have to worry about that water for a while. I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. We just don't have to worry about it immediately. All right, before we wrap this up, I'm going to run down here and check out our balancer and just see if we can get a demonstration. You can see the line looks a lot better now. Looks much better. And, okay, so both of these are backed up. And unfortunately, The steel is moving very slowly right now. Let's see. Can we get a better picture here? We'll actually want to look right here. Can we get a little bit more draw on this? Let's see. You guys are done. Let's put that into a steel chest. Let's get you into a fast inserter. Just to get a little bit of steel pull on the belt to speed that up a little bit. And what I'm looking at right here, you can see the difference between these two right here. If you look at this, you'll see that this is only pulling from the top lane. This outside lane here is the only one that's going to move. This one is static. So our input is going to be off balance because it's only going to pull from one side. We're going to have the exact same problem where the steel is only going to be on one side of the belt. It's not going to pull from both sides. However, if you look down at this one, when we get a pull, you can see it's pulling evenly from both lanes. This one will shift and the bottom one will shift. Did you catch that? While up here, it's still pulling from the one lane still. So if we were to take this one off and just leave that, it's only going to pull from this top line, and this other one's going to back up, and then we're going to be in the exact same situation we were in. This one does work. I mean, it has its purposes. You may use it and not even notice it, but it's not a proper solution for that particular problem, which is why I always like to point this out every chance that I get. And this will also work if you have if your problem is uneven inputs. This one is going to be a solution for you as well, I think. I'm just saying that. It'll work a lot better than it does. But our problem isn't uneven inputs. Our inputs are perfectly even. We want to pull from those evenly. Our problem is down here. It's the uneven outputs that are getting us. So yeah, I hope that's clear. It's a very, very minor thing, but you know, it's one of those things that it took me a while to figure it out, but once I figured it out, and whenever you suggest that, yeah, this is the way to solve that problem, I hope it's clear where I'm coming from that. But either way, the steel line's looking pretty nice. Well, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Okay, we got all this station stuff laid out. We can start making our rails. We need to start making refining stuff. What do we need for that? Stone brick. Hey, we should have a box of it down here in our mall right now. So stone brick and steel, we'll get that going. And get some refineries up. And get some trains running oil. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.